It is Sunday afternoon in Auburn, Alabama. You are listening to Live from the Plains. I am Daniel Locke. This is Logan Fowler. Not a great day for Auburn fans yesterday as the Tigers fall 21-14 at the hands of the California Golden Bears. We're going to break all that down and more. But yeah, let's just get into it. Logan, how are you today?
Doing good, man. It's a pretty day outside. Um, Feeling good, man. Can't complain.
Nope. Beautiful day. Looking forward to going and hitting some golf balls after we finish up here in a little bit. Um, Full disclaimer: this is our second take of recording this show today. Right as soon as we finished up the first time, I accidentally deleted the whole thing because that's just the kind of weekend it's been in Auburn, Alabama. So
Yeah.
what a fitting week that this would be the time where that happens, even though I've never done that before, and there's no chance in hell I ever make this mistake again.
hmm
But Auburn Cal didn't go as planned for the home team, did it, Logan?
No, it did not. Um, I don't think very many people were expecting that. Um, Obviously Auburn was trying to show a little bit of a different product against Cal than they did a year ago in Berkeley, um, and they did not do that.
Real quick, an Auburn related storyline I'd like to point out here. Auburn legend Richard Fitz made his major league debut for the Boston Red Sox today. In 6.1 innings on the mound, he gave up one earned run against the Chicago White Sox. Anyone who knows me knows how much I love all Boston sports teams, particularly the Boston Red Sox. So I'm really happy to see him performing well for my favorite team. And yeah, that was the good news of the day. Now we've got to get into something that a lot of our people listening, who are probably all Auburn fans, two notable exceptions would be my parents, who are both alums of the University of Alabama. This will probably be their favorite show we do all year, unless we're having a similar conversation after the Iron Bowl. But for the majority of our viewers slash listeners who love the Tigers, this won't be a very fun show.
Yeah. Um, Hate to have to make you relive this, but you know, got some thoughts on it. Got to unpack it. So,
Give me your takeaways. Hit me with it.
obviously, very poor offensive play. That's what it amounts to. Um, I'll talk about the defense first because the defense they Mendoza, and you got to give credit to him. I mean, the guy was 19 for 21, 205 yards in the first half. I mean, him and his receivers were on the same page, and Auburn had no answer. Uh,
No.
they scored those two early touchdowns. Um, I mean, they were getting Auburn's defense was getting lit up in that first half. They were bottling Jaden Ott up and that running game. So I mean, they were stopping the running game. It was just nothing was. There was what was it? What are they two? I know the first incompletion that he threw was a throwaway.
Yep.
And then it was like that for a while until he miscompleted another one. But anywho, you got to give DJ Durkin credit on how he handled those in-game adjustments and got his guys out there um, ready to play that second half of that game. Because Mendoza, after lighting them up in the first half, had 28 yards passing um, in that second half of that game. So I mean, you got to give those guys credit, give that defensive staff credit, and those players for buying into it. You know, they got the stops when it mattered. They gave the offense ample opportunity to score the ball, especially late in that game. I mean, they came up time and time again. Um, and I kind of feel like this is a recurring conversation that Auburn fans, beat writers, people associated with Auburn football have, every year. But um, it's just I think the thing for me is especially in today's age, like with all the spread, the RPO, dynamic passing games, for your defense to hold a power four opponent to 21 points on the football game in the contest, and you don't win it, there's no excuse for that. Not today. Um, if you can't score more than 21 points, you don't deserve to win the football game in the first place, especially when you're in your home stadium, and you've got 88,000 people, you know, backing you up. Um, there's no excuse to have not shown up and won that football game in the end, when it mattered. So,
Agreed. And they had ample opportunity to do so.
yeah. Obviously that first drive that Auburn offense comes out and they um, they light it up. They get the 41-yard bomb down the sideline to Cam Coleman. Valdo Fairweather had a nice catch over the middle to get it all going. And then they capped that drive off with the was like 15-yarder to KLS over there. Just an outstanding, remarkable catch on that play. And um, after watching that drive, you're probably thinking, man, I mean, here they go again. They're going to light it up again today, picking right up where they left off in week one. Um, then that was not the case. I mean, I tweeted out Thorne threw for 106 yards on the first two drives. And I tweeted out that he threw that 106 yards that he threw for on those first two drives were more than he threw for in 6 games last year as Auburn starter. And I tweeted out right below that, I was like, man, this Auburn offense is night and day different than a season ago. That obviously did not hold to be true. I had to I went back and retweeted that after the game, so this did not age very well. But yeah, man, I mean, it was a combination of a whole lot of things. Obviously the main storyline is Peyton Thorne. He ends the day with 4 interceptions. Now, I mean, one of those is kind of, not necessarily all on him. But a couple of those were bad. They were bad balls. Obviously, like I said, combination of things between Thorne and that offensive line, and no, you didn't really establish a running game. I mean, it showed up in spurts, but you would run, you'd have 2 runs in a row for, a decent amount of yards, and then you take another shot down the field. It's just there was no rhythm in that offense at all yesterday. I kind of go back to, I think it was the second or third drive where, Auburn's on plus side of the field. It's 4th and 2. Um, I liked the decision from Freeze to go for that. I mean, I think that was fine. But you take a 45-yard shot down the field on 4th and 2, and it was not even close to being completed. So, I mean, it was just little things like that where, if you're Freeze, that's where you put your foot down and you step up, and there's really no excuse for it, especially in today's with the helmet communication, that there should ever be a play like that made on 4th and 2. Now I get it. This is an RPO offense, and that could have been a pass tagged on to a run. The box was probably loaded with Cal defenders. I get that, but your one tag play or one option out of that run should not be a go route 45 yards down the field. I mean, that's on Coach Freeze, because I mean, I would have to go back and rewatch that play, but it was obvious that Thorne was going down the field to Coleman there. Um, so there's got to be different options there in those situations. Um, but I mean, yeah, it's combination of things. I think that the quarterback issues obviously highlight the day, though.
I would agree. My biggest takeaway that hasn't already been said is how similar this game feels to the New Mexico State game last year. Obviously, it's not the same. At least it was a for Auburn. At least it was a Power Four opponent. Um, and instead of you know getting demolished by mid major at home, but still, this not many people, if anyone, had predicted Auburn to lose this game. I jokingly did like 3 weeks ago. You were there, but I didn't actually I didn't actually think it was going to happen that way, and it's just very surprising and very unexpected. And this is not the conversation I thought we would be having today.
Yeah, I mean, no, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect the result either. Obviously, it was Alabama A&M a week ago, so I understand. Much. I mean, Auburn just was so much more talented than that program, but um, it's just so crazy to see that offense go from hitting on all cylinders, scoring 73 points. Sorry. Um,
You're good. I feel like a lot of people feel that way today.
yeah. Seeing that offense hit on all cylinders, going for 73 points, and then just completely looking inept on offense. I don't think many people saw that coming. I didn't see it coming. I mean, I thought I just thought there was really no way with how much more talent there is out wide. We've heard all off season about how comfortable Thorne is in this offense, how comfortable Hugh Freeze is with Derek Nix and Ken Austin right by his side. Um, last year after a performance like this, it kind of just seemed to get pinned on the talent gap and the um, the fact that Philip Montgomery and Freeze, their schemes, they were meshing it together. It just wasn't really working out very well. Well, Philip Montgomery's not here anymore, and Freeze and Knicks, like I just said, we've been talking all offseason about how comfortable they are and how they're on the same terminology. So it's gonna be. I mean, where does it go now? Who takes the blame now? Um, I think that one thing that a lot of Auburn fans, and one thing I noticed in the media last year, was just kind of how Freeze, after a game where he was supposed to take responsibility for the product that was on the field, um, he just kind of passed it off on other, made it seem, oh, he was a little bit too busy for recruiting. Um, he's not really involved in the offense. It's just been so um, just weird for him giving up and not being involved with that offense. Well, he's involved now. So it's just I don't know, it's gonna be interesting to see where I mean, where the blame goes now that all of this talk has been said throughout the off season.
Yeah, and kind of moving on here, I really wonder what this means in the quarterback room. Because as we were talking about the first time that we recorded this episode today, something there's call for change. And let's just assume that Peyton Thorne goes out next week, plays fine for what a veteran quarterback should be able to do against a team like New Mexico. Let's just assume everything looks fine. But then in the first half against Arkansas the following week, he struggles. I don't think it's fair to ask Hank Brown to go in there, hasn't played a meaningful snap in his career, and expect him to just extinguish the flames.
Yeah, I mean, you can't expect that. He's a redshirt freshman who's played. a handful of snaps, none very meaningful in college. Um, so I mean, that's going to be interesting to see what Freeze does. Um, this week, what he says in his presser, what he does in practice, and I mean, yeah, I think you have to expect Hank Brown to get some meaningful snaps in this New Mexico game.
Yeah.
Uh,
And one thing I think, instead of it more being looked at as Peyton Thorne, and I know Hugh Freeze doesn't do depth charts, so he says, but instead of it being number one, Peyton Thorne, number two, Hank Brown, I feel like now it's more like a 1A, 1B type deal.
yeah, I mean that that leash is short for Thorne.
Yeah.
After
I
what
think if he throws an interception against New Mexico, you will see Hank Brown on the next drive.
Yeah, I mean, it's just at some point, I think I think that it's also important, man, to you got to keep this fan base engaged.
Yeah.
You've got to keep your fans coming and filling up the stadium um, and supporting because you know seeing it all over X and social media yesterday. Um, Obviously, it's going to come with a loss, especially one that you shouldn't have lost. But I mean, there's a lot of unhappy Auburn fans um, with what was put on the field yesterday, especially at the quarterback position. And I'll say this: it's very disappointing that those Auburn fans have to, continually see this product be put on the field year in and year out. They show up and they support, um, and I mean, if you're Hugh Freeze, man, you got to do something to keep them coming back. You got to do something to ignite confidence into this fan base and let them see that Auburn football can compete um, in this league because what you've seen from Freeze so far and going back, 3 or 4 years, um, this Auburn football team has not competed in the SEC. I mean, they
No.
just haven't.
No. This isn't the Auburn football that you or I grew up around.
Mm.
And you got to wonder what's it going to take to get it back if you're Auburn, because like you said, you can't really point to a talent gap anymore. Obviously, you can against teams like Alabama or Georgia if you really want to, but I feel like compared to a lot of teams in the league, Auburn's got a roster that can go toe to toe with anyone.
I mean, it's young talent, so um, but it's talent. I mean,
Sure.
so what is Auburn recruiting is at an all-time high right now. I mean, there's no denying that Hugh Freeze gets after it on the recruiting trail. There's no denying that.
No.
You know, but at some point during this season and next, you've got to show on the field that you can win with this young talent, and that um, you deserve to continue to get these 5 stars and 4 stars rolling into your program. I mean, because if you don't show a product on the field with those guys, then they're not gonna come here to
No.
Auburn. Um, so I mean, and I think I said this yesterday to you in the box. Say like, man, if Auburn drops this game, um, your season takes a hit. I mean, you were not supposed to lose that game,
No.
obviously. Um, but with that loss to Cal, I mean, obviously you're never gonna overlook like a New Mexico next week especially after what happened last year with New Mexico State.
Sure.
Um, but just looking forward to this schedule, point me out Based on what you saw yesterday on the field, point me out to where Auburn gets to 6 wins.
Okay. So before I do that, as I've said this all off season, I feel I feel like it's just Auburn football to drop a game that you're not supposed to. Outside of 2010, 2013, and 2019, I feel like there's been one every single year that you or I have been following it. So I just want to say that first. I honestly thought it was going to be Vanderbilt this year. That was the game that I was like, I just see it. Chilly day, 11 a.m. kickoff. The students are going to be half asleep. The fans are going to be half asleep. The players are going to be half asleep. Vanderbilt's somehow going to show up ready to play. Um, but yeah. So obviously you have one win against Alabama A&M. Let's just assume that they are able to handle New Mexico and ULM. Then you're at 3. So your remaining chances to get a win or wins are Arkansas, Oklahoma at home, Georgia on the road, Missouri on the road, Kentucky on the road, Texas A&M at home, Vanderbilt at home, and Alabama on the road.
Yeah,
I
I
don't think
mean,
it happens, Alabama or Georgia. I just don't. I do think they pick up one of those road games, probably Kentucky. So then you're at 4, and I don't see them beating Oklahoma at this point. So then it comes down to Arkansas and Vanderbilt, which goes back to my point that yesterday was the game that Freeze could drop. Freeze and Auburn could drop, and it not really be a big deal, I guess you could say. But now you've got to get on your horse, and you can't let that happen again.
I don't necessarily think the problem is so much that they lost the game. It's just that it's kind of more so how they lost the game. And the like I said, the product that was put on the field. So based on what I saw yesterday on the field, um, I mean, like you said, I think you can maybe chalk up next week as a dub. Um,
Maybe.
and obviously you've got the ULM game at the end. Count Vandy as a dub, bro. I mean, how do you do that right now? Truth,
They
that's
don't look like a pushover like they have in the past.
no. I mean, so let's just take it week by week. New Mexico, you've got an Arkansas team coming in. You were supposed to roll into that Arkansas game 3-0, riding on your high horse. And Arkansas, in previous weeks was marked up as a dub already for Auburn people.
Yeah.
So obviously they have shown that they are not a pushover. They're not quite as bad as the experts predicted them to be. So
And they're significantly better than they were a year ago.
right. So Arkansas is not going to roll into Jordan Hare and be a pushover. Um, but then you get Oklahoma coming in. Um, you were set up to have that. That was set up to be a really historic game. First time that they even roll into Jordan Hare ever. Um,
First road SEC game, right?
It'll be their first road SEC game this season, yes, and then that was, um, I don't think Oklahoma's ever played in Jordan Hare Stadium,
No.
so that was set up to be, a really historic game. I get they struggled yesterday with Houston, um, but like I said again, based on the product that I saw on the field yesterday, neither one of those are looking as a sure win, anymore. Then you go on the road to Athens. Obviously that's the number one team in the country. So, um, you can kind of guess what'll happen there. Number 9, Missouri. You can travel there the week after. Um, then you go to Lexington, who struggled yesterday. I understand that, but I wouldn't expect that to be a trend that continues. Um, you're not. I mean, all of these games are the confidence level in those games going in thinking that they could be a win has lowered, tremendously after what you saw yesterday.
Sure. I would completely agree. And I feel like these are conversations that are, if you're Auburn, hopefully being had in the football facility as we speak. I know those coaches are there on Sundays, so they should be having these conversations, these difficult ones. And Hugh Freeze likes to make references to the truth meetings that they have. I would be interested to be a fly on the wall in those this week because there are no way that those are any sort of pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting to see how they respond. Um, it'll be interesting to see kind of what Freeze says this week in his presser. Um, be interesting to see how they look in practice this week, how the leadership. Like Jaron Thompson spoke out yesterday after the game. This is D1 football. He said, "This, I mean, you're going to have adversity, and now it's time to respond." Um, so those young guys, um, it'll be interesting to see how they respond. And I mean, it's 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 too early to write them off.
Right.
It's too early to do that. Same way as last week when everyone was overreacting to a 73-3 win against an inferior opponent, saying that um, this offense was incredible, blah blah blah, all those things. It's just too early to write them off. I mean, so like I said, it's just going to be interesting to see what they do against a team that they should beat next week,
Yeah.
and what the week of preparation looks like leading up to it.
This is kind of off topic, but one thing I was really kind of hoping to see would be a Sam Jackson the fifth score a touchdown, just because I really want to know if he actually would have signed the ball and then went and handed it to Justin Wilcox, because that would have admittedly been the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'm not sure he would have probably taken another snap in the game if that had happened. Would have been funny, but that would have been yeah. Freeze probably would have crawled all over him for that.
Would it be worth it though? Because then you've got a viral moment that you will be known for the rest of your life.
I mean, that's a that's a gamble right there.
That would have been everywhere.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
And I really regret that we'll never get to know.
No, I don't think Sam Jackson the type of guy who would do that anyway.
I don't think so. Like you said the first time that we tried to record this episode today, I think he has enough sense to not do that.
Yeah,
Because that would probably been the worst talking to he's ever gotten by a coach. I would imagine. I mean, obviously, I don't know the guy. I don't know what kind of mischief he got into growing up, but that would have been just not as funny as it would have been. Not a great look, especially if Auburn still lost the game.
yeah.
But you have anything else to say here?
I mean, it's not really all. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. Offense looked bad. Um, Defense looked okay after they figured it out. Hey, I do have you got to give some credit to the Cal punter
Yes.
because whatever I don't know what that guy had in his leg, but he was pinning that Auburn offense back deep in their own territory. Um, Two back-to-back punts where they were on the 2-yard line. So that guy, I mean, that made a difference in the game. Um, so yeah, got to give a shout out to Cal's punter. But I mean, ultimately, man, there's not much else to say. It'll be interesting to see the quarterback rotation going on into this week. I'm sure Freeze is going to be. I'm ready for the presser tomorrow to kind of hear what Freeze has got to say and how he handles the questions that are going to come his way. But I mean, yeah, just gotta push this one back. Just gotta get over it, get over the hump, and move on.
I would agree. I'm looking forward to seeing where he says the team will go from here. Because, like we were saying, after next week, it's not getting any easier.
Mm.
Um, this is the toughest league in college football, and you got worked by a middle of the pack ACC team.
Yeah,
Okay, look, this is ridiculous. One day, I'll get used to Oregon and Washington in the Big Ten. Like, I'll just accept that as reality. Cal and Stanford in the ACC is the stupidest thing ever. And I'm going to die on that hill. I'm willing to. And I feel like a lot of people will agree with me. It is dumb.
yeah, it makes no sense.
What
Um,
part of Atlantic Coast Conference implies that two schools in California should be included in that?
yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah,
I couldn't get through all my Cal coverage this week without saying that. And I realized in this moment that this was my last opportunity.
I agree, 100%.
I feel like that's a good place to leave it off today. I am Daniel Locke. You can find my written work for Auburn Tigers on SI. You can follow me on Twitter at Daniel J. Locke, or you can follow me on Instagram at the Daniel Locke and see what kind of adventures I get into.
Yeah, you can find my written work at 1819 News. Also, find a little bit with the Auburn Plainsman, and you can follow me on X at Logan F Fowler. Um, yep.
On Wednesday morning, we will have an exclusive conversation with Auburn Rivals' very own Caleb Jones, one of my great friends. Really looking forward to getting some insight on the goings on of Auburn's recruiting from him. And that should be a good conversation that you do not want to miss. So be sure to check that out. Please like, subscribe, tell a friend if you like it, or tell a friend even if you don't. Let them find out for themselves so they have to suffer like you did. But no matter how you share the show or engage with it, it means the world to Logan and I. We've gotten some great feedback so far. If there's anything you would like to see, just reach out, let us know. We're both very responsive in our DMs. So, yeah, talk to us, and we will talk to you soon.